Hi everyone, thank you for coming tonight and thank you to the Emmanuel Church for inviting me. There was hustings a couple of days ago and that was selective hustings, so I wasn't invited to that. But I made sure I was outside, letting the community going in there know that I was here and that they did have more choices than just the main parties. Less than 24 hours ago, I found out from the vicar that this was on tonight and that I was invited, but an email wasn't sent to me from Hillingdon Council. So just to let you know. What I'm going to do is read my leaflet, because on here is a true representation of why I'm standing here today. 2 years ago, this coming January, I lost my wonderful son, Josh, along with his two best friends, Harry and George. They were killed deliberately in the Hillingdon Borough. Since the devastation of that life-changing day, I have embarked on a journey that has led me to this point. The path I followed has manifested itself into moments of realisation about the state of my country, the country that we all live in. Sorry, can I sit down? If there is one thing that I never wanted to be, was a politician. However, following what happened to me, my son, the subsequent cover-up, the lack of interest from any police officer or politicians, coupled together with becoming embroiled in a systematically corrupt law system, it eventually dawned on me that our parliament was broken and that no one truly represented us, the ordinary people, anymore. From my own personal experience, I know that we are living in worrying times. Along my journey, I've met many people that are also suffering from great injustices. There's just pain and suffering everywhere. This is now beginning to affect the very fabric of our society, with murders and stabbings almost every day. We cannot escape the reality of what is happening on our streets. Successive governments have failed to tackle senseless violence. We have a revolving parliament that betrays the veterans, penalises its disabled and poor, and removes children from loving families, whilst lining the pockets of the greedy and privileged. Society is fragmented, communities are becoming distant. I will do all I can to hear the voices of the people from Harefield to Hatchend and Ruislip to Ickenham. By walking the streets so I can speak to everyone I meet, which I've done for the last 2 years, listening to all their concerns as well as sharing mine. I'm just an ordinary person, but I'm someone who cares. I'm prepared to stand up and say no more. I hope by making this stand it will inspire more ordinary people to come forward in the future too. A vote for me on December the 12th is a vote for the ordinary people, the people who do want change, the people who are sick of listening to false promises, false manifestos, and when they get into power they don't follow them, they break them. I'm someone who has had enough.
If elected, what would the panel do in terms of further review of welfare provision? Where I'm coming from on this is I've got a friend of mine who's severely disabled, has had mental health problems. He's been ruled over the coals, subject to the personal independence plan. He's been in a suicidal state at times. So let's get away from this image that everyone drawing benefits is a dull strand. Of course, there are people that work the system, but there are a lot of people that are generally disabled, have mental health issues, and I'll seek the panel's views on what they would do if elected about looking at further reforms the benefit system.
Although I hear this, and we do it quite often from people, that there are some who say, well, when I was on benefits, I moved into work and I'm actually not necessarily that much better off. And yet that is an issue, but at least you're earning your own living. And that's a really important thing for the country as a whole.
When you're not in a position to do that, when if you're disabled and you're not allowed to work, you see, this is the thing. My friend, ironically, he'd love to work, he's not able to. Okay, thank you.
And then their payments being stopped.
So the second part of the answer is about universal credit. And I do an awful lot of work in local government and national level. One of the interesting things I've learned about universal credit, which is being implemented locally at the moment, is that its first year of implementation seems to lead to lots of trouble. But when you sit down with Labour councillors from other parts of the country where it's been implemented 2-3 years down the line, they say, once it's been implemented, it's much better. It's a much improved system compared to what went before. It has a particular weakness around the delays in the first payment and individuals whose chaotic lifestyles mean that managing their own money is a challenge. And it's got inbuilt safeguards to deal with it, that they're not as effective as they should be. But having heard that consistent message from Labour, Liberal Democrat councillors from around the country say this was implemented in our area, we're 2 or 3 years in, we had lots of trouble in the first year, but now we see it's making a huge positive difference to people's lives. I think that's the right direction.
Yeah, pushing them to suicide because they can't feed their children.
Osteoarthritis. I've got lung problems at the moment. Emphysema. I have a few problems with my breathing.
And you wear a colostomy bag as well?
I wear a colostomy bag, long-term one, since for 3 years now.
And there's a picture that we've seen that we're going to show our readers.
I lost a lot of weight.
That was you just before Christmas, is that right?
Yeah, that's down to 6 stone.
6 stone. And
6 stone.
You had pneumonia at the time, didn't you?
Pneumonia. I still have a little bit of pneumonia at the moment. Yeah. Quite a lot of people have got pneumonia with this weather.
Yeah. And just to point out that picture, at that point, you were technically judged to be fit for work, weren't you?
More or less, yeah.
You weren't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's okay. You weren't entitled to the ESA payments, were you? At that point?
No.
And you actually had to leave hospital to fight the tribunal.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel when you're that ill and you're being sort of judged that you should be out getting work?
Out of breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone should have to suffer that. But I suppose it's what they want, trying to find out if anyone's telling the truth or not. But you can only be as honest as you can be, and I've come out of hospital out of breath to get there and to speak my mind and tell them what was the problem was.
And you were obviously in some trouble and looking around for help. You've come to this place, the CASA in Liverpool, which is a community organisation, and they've helped you, and the people here have supported you. Without somewhere like this, what do you think would have happened?
I tried many places. The government shut them down. This was I got introduced to this and to Terry, and he's done a hell of a lot for me. In fact, practically saved my life. If he hadn't got me into hospital, as I say, I was down to 6 stone. His good wife's a nurse, and she's seen and said I must get into hospital straight away. Went to hospital, couldn't speak properly, couldn't stand, had no muscles in my legs whatsoever. Lost that much weight.
So you think there's a good chance you wouldn't have survived?
Lucky enough, the nurses in the Royal looked after me and got me back to being basically normal again.
It's the worst system that we've ever seen in the UK. Poverty. I got a letter through being a candidate from someone who's disabled, who's got a broken back, and has had all his benefits stopped from an assessor that doesn't know what they're doing. We've got people going from disability living allowance at high rate being switched over to PIP at the low rate because they don't know what they're doing. We have people starving, in poverty. We're in a rich country and we have 3 million children in poverty. We have over 2,000 food banks, and it's not just people on universal credit that go into food banks. You know, it's people on the low end of wage. It is the worst system going. I've been in it myself, and I had to fight for my entitlement because they wouldn't tell me. My young son has autism, you know, so I'm also a carer. So there's lots of things you could do. And by the way, just to say, you wouldn't have to, and I'm sorry to revert back to this, I apologise, but it's important. Stop taxing the people when you could use capital when they're outsourcing all that money for the NHS.
I just want to ask the question to the panel. I'm 60 years of age, and for the very first time in 2016, I was given an opportunity to have a say about whether I wanted to stay in Europe or leave Europe. And I remember at the time all of the politicians saying, this is it, this is the one, we're going to implement whatever decision you make, there's no turning back. I want to know from you lot, are you going to honour my vote?
Come on there, David.
Yes. I said a little more than that. I voted Remain. I've seen what's happened. I work very closely with the European Union and other international bodies. I'm the leader of conservative groups in both the Committee of the Regions, which is the European Parliament's local government counterpart, and the Council of Europe. We've got very good close relationships with our international allies. The decision to leave the European Union isn't the one that I voted for, but I think we have to respect it.
First of all, we weren't told the full truth about what Leave meant or what Remain meant. Lots of people didn't understand. I campaigned for Remain and I voted for Remain, but a lot of people didn't understand what Remain meant versus what actually Leave meant. We had Boris Johnson standing outside in front of a bus that said 350 million for the NHS if we voted to leave. Then we found out that actually the referendum wasn't legally binding and Parliament needed to vote for it to become legally binding.
My question to you would be, if we had the time, what kind of Brexit did you actually vote for? What was the deal that you wanted? What we've seen is that we had a referendum which was fought on an appalling campaign full of lies. I would say this was probably one of the worst pieces of politics that I've ever seen in my life. We heard, for example, David Davis say this would be the easiest deal in the world. We heard how the German car manufacturers would line up and insist on being able to access our country with their sales, ignoring the fact that actually they... Sorry, I missed that.
They may still do that.
No, that's not what they're saying. They see that it's much better to have free open access within the other 27 countries. That's worth far more to them. I think it's great that people like you have become agitated enough to become involved in politics. I totally salute that.
Yeah, but the thing is, you asked me what it was that I voted for.
Yeah.
It's quite simple. On the form at the time, it said, do I want to remain or do I want to leave?
Absolutely right.
I voted to leave.
Right, that's absolutely right. I totally respect that. But that was not a very good question to ask because it didn't define what leave meant.
is about democracy. That's what this is about. And the point to this is, whatever the will of the people is what goes. It's as simple as that. The same with HS2. I don't know anyone, like I said, I live in this constituency, I went to all the meetings, as I said, I wrote to Nick Hurd, the MP. It was ignored, we was ignored. This isn't, you know, people are losing their homes. They talk about how many jobs you're going to get from building HS2, but they don't tell you how many businesses are going to be lost. Small businesses, you know, farmers this is going to affect. People's homes, the evaluation of those homes, they don't tell you that. They just sell you all these things without telling you the flip side to it. It's about honesty. So let's go back to Brexit. Irrelevant to whatever you voted, the will of the majority was to leave. And to sort of even point that they didn't know is insulting to the people who chose to leave. Because both sides knew what they was choosing. And don't listen to Project Fear, propaganda, because that's what it is. Because I work in the care industry, I know many, many chemists, and there will not be a shortage of medicine. So stop scaring the people. So the point is, we vote for the majority. Otherwise, democracy is dead and we vote for the plans.